You're live. Okay. Hello and welcome to our August 11th, 2026 meeting of the Hatfield Select Board. I'm going to call the meeting to order at 5:36. We'll start with our public participation. The Hatfield Select Board welcomes everyone to its meetings and all other public meetings of the town of Hatfield. All regular and special meetings of the boards and committees of the town of Hatfield shall be open to the public and shall conform to the open meeting law. Executive sessions are closed to the public and will be held only as prescribed by the statutes of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. It is important to recognize that the open meeting law affords the opportunity to listen to the proceedings, but not necessarily participate. During the meetings of the Select Board, an attempt will be made to find a balance between hearing from the members of the community and conducting the required business of the Hatfield Select Board. For the public's information, this meeting is being recorded. Just to start with a few announcements, there's going to be a celebration of life for Roland Lauren on Thursday, August 20th at 1 p.m. in the Senior Center. Roland was a longtime janitor and a member of the Housing Authority. And we hope that some people are able to attend it, and we offer our condolences. I'd also like to offer our condolences to the gentleman who passed, to the family of the gentleman who passed on the 91 accident earlier yesterday. And in a less somber note, just for people to be aware that we're in full swing of tobacco season and there's a lot of slow-moving vehicles and tractors on the roads right now. So just take a minute and be cognizant of that, but also that school starts back on, I believe, August 27th. So there'll be much more school bus traffic and children on the sidewalks and stuff. So to be cognizant of that as well. And that is all I have for announcements.
I just want to say, Rowan was a great guy. He was always taking care of the town hall. He always was concerned about the town of Hatfield, always asking the right questions to make sure the town was going in the right direction. I also want to thank all those that attended in front of town hall last week for our Purple Heart ceremony for our Purple Heart recipients. Now that the town is a Purple Heart town, this ceremony will probably occur once a year. So thank you to the Legion, Commander Tom Totaro, and all the members that attended, along with all the residents that attended, especially our Purple Heart recipients. Those are my announcements.
Go ahead.
A couple quick things. There will be a open garden tour of the Hatfield Community Garden Sunday, August 23rd, 1 to 4 p.m. Looks like a nice event. Good chance to see what the community gardens look like if you haven't visited there before. And then just want to thank Hatfield Fire Department, State Police, and other first responders for the response to the field hockey shed with the lightning strike over the weekend. We're getting good news about insurance and everything else, but it looks like the community's already really rallied and is doing everything they can to try to help with field hockey season so close and getting everything rebuilt. So thank you to everyone who's responded. Glad everyone's safe, and yeah, looking forward to getting that rebuilt and everything back again.
Fantastic. Moving on to public forum. Is there anyone here for public forum? All right, no. I will entertain a motion to accept our minutes.
I'll motion to approve July 21st, 2026 meeting minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, moving right on to topic one, the shared police chief proposal with the town of Whately. Chief DeKoschak?
Yes. Hi. Good evening, everybody. So this was an idea that was thrown around a few months ago, and then we sort of put it on the front burner when I decided that I was going to be retiring at the end of the year. So essentially right now, very early in the stages of talks, we met with, myself and Andrew met with, and Ed, you met with counterparts in Whately regarding this. Right now, we'd be looking at sharing a police chief when I retire. So the chief in Whately would fill that role. we work well together now, department-wise. Both departments work well together. He's our training officer. He's been our training officer, one of our training officers for many years. He lives in Hatfield. He lives out on Depot Road. So it would not be a hard transition for the officers of the Hatfield PD. They all respect him and like him, as well as the members of his department, and vice versa. So with that being said, next steps would hopefully be like a joint meeting of some kind between the Whately Select Board and this Select Board, and then whether that be open to the public at that point in time, so on and so forth, would be up to you guys. But that's what we're looking at right now. There would be, the benefit would come in the future, perhaps with this. We're not looking at saving money. We're looking at better coverage overall for the same money. So not spending any more, but just getting a better, a better covered town when it comes to the police department. As everybody knows, finances are tough. It's tough recruiting as well right now. So this is kind of an out of the box thing right now to try to get just better services for the town without them having to reach into their pockets for more money. And with that being said, I mean, it's at this point in time, that's it. I really wouldn't want to go into any like logistical stuff at this point. I think that's best when all the select boards are together.
Yeah, I think we had a great meeting, and once we have our meeting in September, I think there's some consensus of going to possibly trying something on a temporary basis. We'll see how that works out. And there seems to be a lot more positives than negatives to this proposal. I do want to thank you for bringing this proposal forward. I think it's a good proposal under the conditions.
Mhm.
So would we be comfortable with having a public forum and meeting of the two select boards? The request from Whately was to have a public forum and a chance for the two select boards to meet together. And I suggested doing it at your next select board meeting on September 8th. Would you be open to that?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So we can make sure to publicize that and let people know, but you'd be able to talk about it. So the chief and his counterpart in Whately really put together a nice plan of what 3 years of transition could look like. The first year being a shared chief, and then more commitments in the second and third years. So it's a good proposal the way they have it. And I think you'd be able to just work through it and figure out what the details look like and take concerns from the public at that next meeting.
And there was
Understood.
an article in today's Gazette
Yeah.
that mentioned the Whately board meeting discussing it too. So I guess the public is getting aware of the possibility. So
Yeah, nothing would change in that initial phase. And that initial phase can last as long as it needs to, but nobody would notice a difference, quite honestly, other than it would be his face instead of mine if they needed to speak with the chief. But other than that, there'd be, still have Hatfield officers, Hatfield cruisers, Hatfield uniforms. So none of that would change in that initial phase. Is there any questions? Anybody?
I love the creative thinking. I think there's a lot of opportunity for us to be working closer with other towns, especially up and down the river, and shared resources in general. So
I think most of mine are all operational that we can address in the next meeting.
Yeah, initially.
Start sending those
Yeah.
questions now.
Initially, there aren't going to be operational issues. Phase one, nothing that certainly couldn't be overcome with very little effort. It would be much later on if we're looking at a phased approach to this.
I guess some of my concern, like the questions that I would have would be with like dispatch in between county lines and operating on different frequencies and things like that, which one we're going to, who's staying where,
Yeah,
and then like
so-
insurances wise and stuff like that too. We just want to make
So
sure.
we'd be looking at like phase 3, we're calling that.
Yep.
That is years in the future, working out those logistical issues, because you have different retirement systems. You have the courthouses I don't worry about, because that's something that's normal anyhow, going to different courthouses. The state police do it all the time. It's whoever's got court duty that day goes to Greenfield Court or goes to Northampton Courthouse. So that's really not an issue. But that would be a lot more involved, what you're talking about. And those are the areas that we would probably need legislative help with also at that point. So these are talks for our legislators and us.
I just know, like, I mean, I don't know what like frequency band for radios you guys run on, or if
Yeah,
they're
so
going to
we're-
continue to run on Shelburne and we're going to stay in Hampshire. Or,
Well,
know, so-
we can talk back and forth now.
right.
That's just a channel switch, because we run tri-band radios, so
Perfect.
we can essentially talk to anybody that we want to just by switching the channel. So we hear all their calls, they hear all of ours. We hear everything I hear everything from the New York Hancock line to Connecticut line, all of anything that's going on unless it's a closed frequency like Springfield or something like
Right.
that. But
I think it's a very creative idea. So I'm into it.
All right.
Cool.
Awesome. Thank you.
Cool. Yep.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to topic 2 for the Venn family for a license for buying and selling secondhand articles for 474 Main Street. So you guys want to come up and
Absolutely.
review what's going on?
All right. I am Rainey Venn. We are at 474 Main, and my wife is Donna. And yeah, we're applying for the permit to sell secondhand goods, dabbling in furniture and just odds and ends. And trying to keep it as simple as possible and make sure we're doing what's right for the town.
Perfect.
We've been here 36 years and we love this little town.
So we have a provision in our bylaws, section 3.02, which states that no person shall engage in the business of buying or selling secondhand articles within the limits of the town of Hatfield unless he is duly licensed by the select board. So that's a license that we haven't really offered that often. It's the next paragraph is about tag sales. We do tag sale licenses. That's something that's run by our executive office here. So it makes sense that they'd be asking for this. This has been reviewed by our building inspector as well. So if Jim has anything that he wants to add on this, he's welcome to. But essentially what we've put together here would be a letter that can come from the select board that would act as a permit and would have a couple conditions, just saying that no more than one piece of furniture should be displayed at any one time. We'd look for a license fee of $25, and that would last for 3 years. The license would last for 3 years, and that work should be conducted between noon and dusk. And then any other applicable noise and health codes have to be followed. So that's the recommendation from the building inspector and myself about how to do this. If more people came asking for the same thing, I think this is something we could absolutely live with. But just wanted to put that out there for your consideration.
So under our present zoning laws, I'm just curious, do we have, well, couple questions. One, is there anybody else that has this particular license in town
No.
at this time? And number 2, is this become a classification of a business in a residential area or not? I don't know what the classification
So
is.
if Mr. Venn were here operating a business, that would be another story. That would be something else we'd be looking at. But this is really the hobby, working on furniture and occasionally buying and selling it. If this were a home occupation, if it's a registered business, we'd be going through a different process. We'd be going through a special permit through the planning board. But that's not really what's going on here. It's a hobby, and this is just something that does exist in our bylaws as a process for buying and selling, refurbishing secondhand furniture.
Okay, so this is like you're saying like a step above, like tag sale in a way, basically.
It's like
Just
more
And it's
get
even less
clarification
disruptive
on
than
what
a
it
tag
is. That's-
sale.
and
Yeah.
That's
Because you
that's
don't
the
have a ton of stuff.
interpretation from our building inspector also, right?
He's not doing woodworking. It's just a small little hobby that he's got, and he sells a couple pieces. I thought it fit perfectly into that section.
And every,
This doesn't
Is it
require
necessary to
any-
limit it to one piece of furniture?
I think if it starts to be a lot more than that, we get concerned about either blending into a tag sale or it starts to create kind of that disruption that you might see from the street. Because that's when zoning gets into play. You don't want to see a lot of disruption or have a lot of people running in and out or anything else. So the one piece of furniture, that's something that seems consistent with, say, a hobby use.
So I don't mind people in town having tag sales, so, and I don't mind if the neighbors aren't upset with it at all. If it doesn't affect any of the zoning laws, and then you'd be in compliance with with the restrictions that are set forth in this, so.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean,
And I would have to imagine this has been addressed at some point in town previously if there was already a section in the bylaws for this,
I
right?
feel like every bylaw
So
tells a
weird.
story.
Right. So
Yeah.
I
It's
would
very
have to imagine it. Maybe there's no current holders, but I'm sure there was at some point. And also I go by your house quite frequently, and everything is always picked up every evening, and it's nice looking stuff too. So
Yeah. I assume it doesn't, just out of curiosity, it doesn't apply to selling online. Like
What
you
a
can
great
sell,
question.
right? You could just like sell your secondhand stuff on Facebook Marketplace. I'm more curious about this weird bylaw. That's
This-
all I'm asking.
And I would imagine this bylaw is going to get flagged when General Code does their review of all of our
Mm.
bylaws. So should that happen, we'll reach out and make sure we have a good plan moving forward. I think even if we were to change this at some point, it'd be exempted in. That won't be a problem. That's a great question. If you read this literally, you can't sell a chair on Facebook Marketplace
which-
without getting a license to do so.
Yeah.
And it feels like that shouldn't be our law. So we might want to revise that at some point. I don't know if I'm reading it literally, and maybe town council would disagree. That's a good question.
I do have one question on the letter.
Mhm.
You're saying noon to
Dusk
dusk.
is if
This
that's
is
not
clearly
consistent
written
with
a while ago.
with what
It
you
just- it
like
just
to do.
seems kind of late in the day to get going for me.
Yeah, happy to make a change there. This board can certainly.
I
Change
didn't
that.
know if it kind of mirrored the noise laws, if you will, you know.
Noise laws would be more like
I
7
try to
a.m.
Be as quiet as I can up until 8:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Especially since I alerted my neighbors what I was going to be doing a few years back, each and every one of them, and no one ever had a problem.
Prior to noon would be fine. I think as long as this board doesn't mind.
I don't have a
Is,
problem with that.
is 9 a.m. or we could
To
whatever we want.
The noise level that I make is a palm sander.
Yeah.
I use no chemicals. I'm a neat freak. Everything is super neat and clean.
Yeah.
I don't use any strippies. I don't use any chemicals.
And I have no problem with making it earlier. I just think one thing to note is that this wouldn't necessarily stop you from starting those activities within the confines of your garage earlier than that.
Right.
You just couldn't bring the displayed piece of furniture out to the end of the road until, let's say, 9 a.m. or something.
To be honest, I sold so little by bringing it to the end of the driveway that I stopped a year and a half ago.
Right.
I sell on Marketplace and I sell by word of mouth. And I sell a couple of pieces a week. So there's not a traffic situation. There's
Right.
none of that. I mean, I got a boss, so she governs,
Mm.
what I can do and can't do.
So do you want to change
54
it to
years.
9 or 10?
8 a.m. is fine too. or
I'm
whatever
fine with
you all
8.
want. It wouldn't be an issue with say noise
Yeah.
laws.
And-
He's not
and,
even making
you know,
noise.
My intention is never to be out there day after day after day, making any volume of noise. When I have to sand a piece, it takes 30 minutes to an hour and a half, and then I'm done. The rest of the day, for a couple of days, things are quiet, other than the oldies playing in the garage at a very low volume.
well, actually, if there is a problem down the road, we could always call you back and
Oh, absolutely.
revoke this if we had to, but I don't think there's going to be an issue. I just want to make sure that we're covering all our bases
Sure.
before we approve something. That's
Yeah, and
all.
I'd be open to any changes. Yeah, obviously, I want to make this work for myself and
And I applaud you for coming forward and trying to do the right thing.
thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
And I have a piece in my garage I would love to get rid of, so swing over.
That's
I'm in your
where-
neighborhood.
And that's where I get it all, is side of the road or offers. I don't buy furniture.
Yep.
I just don't. When I started, I said, I'm not buying furniture. You don't have to. You can save all the stuff from landfill endlessly.
Absolutely. So I'm personally fine with 8. I mean, that's when most other landscape
don't know what
stuff,
the rules
things
are.
like that
Yeah.
are kicking off. I don't have a problem with
It's
I
long
think we
after a
can,
lot of stuff is already.
Yeah,
I think we can move on this.
Yeah.
So,
I'll entertain a motion.
Ed, do you want to make do we have to amend it in any way or just?
Yeah, I would just say in your motion, actually, someone should, if we just all agree that I'm changing between the hours of 8 a.m. and dusk, and then you can make the motion to approve as amended.
All right.
Just ask real quick. Is there anybody else here to discuss this topic? No. Okay. All right. Go ahead.
I motion to approve license for buying and selling secondhand articles for 474 Main Street with the amendment as made.
second,
All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
So we'll get this amended and signed and sent to you, and as of this point, you're good to go.
Thank you all for your time.
Absolutely.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
Thank
See
you.
And
swing
thanks
by.
to Jim for
Yes.
finding this.
Have a great evening.
As well.
You too.
All right. Topic 3. This is in regards to the Cantina Restaurant and the intentions with a liquor license at 127 Elm Street.
Is there anyone here for this? So I know at the last meeting you talked about trying to get a hold of the manager there at
Yes,
Cantina. and-
I've spoken with them again, and I would expect them to be reaching out. They're
Okay.
just in their transition over to Hadley, and things have kind of gotten lost in the
problem.
shuffle. So
So it will come up because it looks like there is somebody who will be coming in with a new restaurant in that space.
okay.
So they're working with the owner. I don't know if the plan is for Tim Chorek to sell that space or to lease it out again. But someone will be applying for that license. So either it'll just be a transfer or they can give it up and they can apply again. It won't be a problem mechanically. But we can reach out to Chris if needed to help transfer, or it'll just happen. So
I'll make
at
a
least-
note.
yeah, that'd be great.
I'll make a note for myself to try to reach out again.
And it'll come up anyway when they come in to apply for that liquor license, which hasn't happened yet, but I believe they're planning on.
But one way or another, we have a mechanism to revoke and give back if, in whatever way we need to. So.
Yeah, we have plenty of options here.
Cool.
So I assume that at the next meeting there'll be either a transfer or someone asking for the new license. So we should be able to make that work.
Sounds good.
Cool.
Topic 4 is our asset management plan, the grants deliverable review.
Yes. So we were supposed to have a presentation from great. I'll take that from David Prickett from DPC Engineering. Thank you. That's quick service. DPC Engineering. Unfortunately, he had a medical thing come up this evening, so he's fine, but couldn't be here tonight. So we did talk about this last time a little bit, and we'll invite DPC to come to a future meeting because I know we want to have a real solid discussion on this asset management plan. So it's the sewer one here. I will send around all the full reports as we receive them. We have drinking and sewer, and then we'll get the stormwater plan as well. But a lot of work went into this, and we're going to be able to learn a lot and get some good ideas about what maintenance looks like over the next few years. So we'll close out those grants, and we'll have Dave come to a future meeting.
Sounds good.
I was just going to ask, so these are the result of a grant and a
Yes.
team. Okay.
This was a 2-year process funded by the state from the Clean Water Drinking Fund, and DPC Engineering ran these processes for water, sewer, and stormwater. So we'll have a lot of information to draw on, but they'll do a larger presentation either at your next meeting or the one after that.
Okay, cool.
And now that the upstairs is all monitored, you can plug in a laptop, you can see everything
It's
up
going
on
to be
those,
easy.
those
It'll be great.
monitors. It'd be nice.
Yep, that's the plan.
Yeah.
So we can do that next meeting upstairs. That could be really good.
Sounds good. All right, moving right on to topic 5. This is our Mayors for Peace overview.
I'm Bruce Stedman, the New England representative of Mayors for Peace. This is the packet for the chair,
Thank you.
and then smaller ones for each of you.
Thank you.
And let's see, yes.
Thanks, Bruce. No problem. Perfect. Bruce, we'll have you introduce yourself again into the microphone over there.
Sure.
Oh, right. Where did I?
I'm Bruce Stedman, I live in Amherst. I'm the New England representative of the international organization Mayors for Peace, and I represent the Mayors for Peace US part of that. So yes, we would like to, this is my colleague, Sister Claire Carter from the Leverett Peace Pagoda. And we believe there's at least one and maybe two of the residents of the town who are here in support of our presentation. And if you could introduce them, that would be good.
Thank you. You may know John Peace. Because he's a friend of the Pagoda too, and of this initiative. Mayors for Peace.
So we're here in part because the Leverett Select Board sent you a letter asking you to consider being a member of Mayors for Peace in the way that they have. The letter from the mayor of Hiroshima does say mayors, but obviously select boards can also be members. And so we're part of an initiative to reach out to about 20 of the cities and towns in the valley to talk about the membership, what it means to be a member city or town. So I just wanted to walk you through what's in your materials there. The first page obviously is the letter from the mayor of Hiroshima. There is I believe in your packets, you may have gotten a description, a short one-page description of Mayors for Peace that explains a little bit more. In the chair's packet, there is this list, which is also on that one pager I sent. In the lower right corner, it shows all the towns and cities in Massachusetts that are members of Mayors for Peace. There's a longer description here in the chair's packet that has lots of pictures you can look at some point. A couple of other things in what I handed you. There is a copy of a recently, and very recently, like last Friday, Massachusetts Senate bill, which encourages the federal representative and senators, the Senate and Congress, to both do two big things. One is to move forward with approving the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons, which Mayors for Peace is an advocate for that, and also to live to the 5 principles that are in the small blue. It looks like this. This is our sister organization, our colleague organization, Back from the Brink. And we have a Western Mass chapter of that. And if you look on this part of it, you'll see the 5 things that are listed there that we are calling on the United States to do. And those are embedded within the Senate resolution that passed last Friday. The proposer of this bill was Joe Comerford. And we, both Mayors for Peace and Back from the Brink, were active in trying to, over the last 7 years, it turns out, to get this bill passed, which we were most pleased that it did. But we're really here tonight to talk about you becoming a member of Mayors for Peace. And the question is, well, yes, we might all agree that abolishing nuclear weapons is absolutely necessary. And the question is, well, how would this help? How would you being a member, and what would it cost? It costs $13 a year, and that's because of the varying valuation between the yen and the dollar. So it's not a whole lot, but it's really about how can I, as the representative, help you decide. First, we trust that you would like to become a member, and then what would you get to do? What would your role be? And that's really where we would like to start the conversation. So in the chair's packet, there is a registration form, which I could help you with. It's pretty simple. But what we really want to talk about is this sheet, this one here, and the bottom half of the thing I sent you, which is about seeds from the trees that survived. And there's about 500 trees in Hiroshima and Nagasaki that survived the blast. There's a human counterpoint to that, which are the hibakusha, the people who humans who actually survived. And that organization works with Mayors for Peace to achieve the abolition of nuclear weapons. they do not want anyone to ever have to go through the pain and horror that they went through. And they're seeking to have you be part of that understanding, that you would join. And there are 8,500 towns and cities all over the world who are members of this. So you'd be joining a quite large, and the goal is to get 10,000. The fundamental purpose, though, is to have ways to demonstrate to the population of each jurisdiction, why are we doing this? And so one way might be to have a tree that you could plant somewhere in a public space with a descriptive plaque that the International Secretariat would supply, and explain to people who walk by, why is this tree here? How did the seed from a tree that survived, how did it get here into your town? We can come back to the mechanism for doing that, but that's one very valuable step that you could take that's a very public outreach. In addition to that, you could have a poster exhibit. Let's say you had for a month in the town hall, you could have a poster exhibit about Mayors for Peace and what it means. What did the bombing actually mean, and how can we abolish nuclear weapons? And I would help you organize that if that was your choice. You could sponsor an art contest. There's a children's art contest described here on number 2 on this list that's in there. There are other things that down the road, if you felt strongly this is really what we want to do, then we can work on other things. So we're trying to talk to all of the smaller towns and bigger ones. We're in conversations with Holyoke, Springfield, Chicopee, Greenfield, Amherst, to have as many of the towns and cities in the Connecticut River Valley as possible become a member.
I appreciate you being here, and usually when we see stuff for the first time, we need time to digest it
Understood.
and read it and study it. So
Yeah.
I'm not going to rush to any opinion at this time until I've had time to digest what you're presenting and what it's all about. So just
Yeah,
letting
that's
you know,
totally fair, of course.
I'm not ready to fill out any application until I know more
I
about what's
understand.
going on. That's all.
But I'm just trying to convey that there is someone to help you. If you decide you want to do this, I'm there to be that person and to support your efforts.
I guess my question I'm just very aware of invasive plant species, but do the seeds do well in pots or indoors?
Well, yes. So
or
the
anything like that?
mechanism, the short answer to that is there are 15 different species. I'm sure we could narrow it down to like 5, but we are developing a system with the 3 botanic gardens of the valley, Mount Holyoke, Smith, and UMass, to grow the seeds professionally.
Yep.
To support your interest in having them when they get about this tall in a pot, then they would get planted, because you can't just put the seed out there. That would never work. But it also would mean that the plant could come and visit. You could bring the pot and have a ceremony once a year, or lots of different things you could do with the traveling tree. And we're not quite there yet in terms of having the botanic gardens being supportive of this, but we're pretty sure they will do it. And it has a side benefit, which is your tree is growing up somewhere in a botanic garden at Smith College, we'll say, and lots of people will walk by it and see that you are growing a tree to plant, let's say, 5 years from now in a particular place.
Yep. That was my concern when I read that. I was like, well, if it survived, atomic bomb.
Right, and of course
It's been the
climate, the weather is different in Hiroshima than it is here. And so that's why we're reaching out to professional horticulturalists to make sure that they know what species we're working with. And you're right about the invasives, but that shouldn't be a problem. I'm sure they will be very mindful of that question.
Perfect.
Claire, do you have anything to add from where we are now?
Well, it's been in Leverett. It's been a very strong experience with the select board. I mean, we're just like a little over a mile away, and we've done a lot of peace walking, and we always walk to our town hall and always meet, with some representative, usually the town manager or the town clerk, and, explain why we're walking, and they very supportive. Yeah, they did sign on as a Mayor for Peace town several decades ago, and I think probably 21 years ago, something like that. That was a year we did a long peace walk and reached out to a lot of towns and cities. But they've been, probably because we're kind of always, there connecting and all, but they've on their own, the town manager and the select board, which does change, of course, with votes, but has really been keeping up with Mayors for Peace, and they do communicate. The core office, or the central office, is in Hiroshima, with an auxiliary office in Nagasaki, and they do write. And I know that our manager's Margie McGinnis, and she writes back, and all that. It's very, there's a real relationship, and it really was her idea and the select board idea to, given all the wars and threats of more wars and all this going on, to, in this moment, to reach out to neighboring towns. And no one needed any, Margie just wrote the letter and asked the select board would they sign it with no debate. They signed it, and she sent it, and, off it went. That's just because the relationship has been going for so long, and it has real meaning. And I think deep down, I can't speak, but from talking with Margie, and they are hoping that other towns may find, in this relationship, some really deep significance that's very, very meaningful. And as more towns and cities may join, where it all goes is really up to the cities and towns. And in terms of, the Mayors for Peace, the first priority is to seed and nourish the awareness among people in general of the absolute need to abolish nuclear weapons from all sides, all countries, all everything, that, humanity and nuclear weapons can't coexist. And the secondary, which is right with that, is building cultures of peace in the towns. They don't push anything. It's not a pushy organization at all, a very respectful organization. But and I think this is something Leverett is interested in, doing more with kind of opening up this dimension of building a culture of peace, which I think already happens, and I'm sure it happens in your town too. But anyway, seeing where that might go, and I think Bruce highlighted some of the suggestions from Mayors for Peace in Japan. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
And I did want to say one more quick thing, that this kind of the gold standard of where the whole of the nation states of the world need to go is called Treaty on the Prohibition. Just so you know about it, you can look it up on your own. It's called the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons. It went into effect in, I think it was January of 2021. It didn't go into effect. It was enacted. There's all these legal words, it just means that enough countries signed onto it to kind of give it life. And at this moment, there are 75 what they call states parties who have fully ratified it within their own internal parliaments, have signed it at the UN, but have also ratified it. And it prohibits, just so you know of it, it prohibits nations from developing, testing, producing, manufacturing, transferring, possessing, stockpiling, and using nuclear weapons. And so there are 75 that have fully ratified it. There are 25 more who have signed it at the UN, haven't yet internally ratified it. You know, if and when they do, that's certainly over half the nation states will be eternally committed. That's how it's written. It holds you to it.
The
So-
Senate bill that was passed
Yeah.
focuses a lot of its attention on the TPNW. So when you read it, you'll see that.
And so that's becoming more, because of that wonderful legislation, it will work its way into the culture of Massachusetts a lot more.
All right.
Happy to answer other questions.
Bruce,
Yes.
I didn't talk this with Sister Claire yet, but I'm a former retired employee of Smith College. Fire chief retired, Bill Wellens retired out of Smith College.
Mhm.
He worked in greenhouses and outside.
There we go.
Oh, wow.
And many
Yeah,
trees.
there we
Many-
go.
Many a tree, many a tree. But it would be a good idea if our town, who has a couple members of the Smith family as their, I can say they're resting in peace here in Main Street Cemetery. Fire Smith, Oliver Smith,
Wow.
select board member Edwin Jaworski, myself are classmates of class of 72. Think if we could get maybe a Smith Oak to, how can I say, look behind you, see how the stuff grows,
Mhm.
maybe help plant it.
Okay.
Men and women,
Nice.
and the tree is ready to plant. I think the board members know that we have a town park at the beginning of Main Street. It
Okay.
already has a significant tree growing in it, Liberty elm that was planted.
Very nice.
It was replanted after it was vandalized, after it was first planted in the Smith Academy Park at Smith Academy. It got moved down there, and now it's flourishing. And it's going to be marking 25 years, 9/11's coming up shortly, 25 years. And it's like, would be nice to plant that tree somewhere in that park a
Sure.
few years down the road, with approval of the DPW director.
Of course.
You know,
Of course.
we have to make sure.
Yeah.
But it's something that, generations following us can look at,
Well, once I get the Botanic Garden system figured out, I'll come back and we can discuss how to make sure the linkage is clear.
Thank you.
All right.
Well, thank you very much
Thank
for
you for
coming,
coming
and
in.
we will definitely give this
Thank
some
you for having
consideration.
us, and I can
Nice.
stay with Mr. Levine in contact.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Topic 6 is our audit review. Andrew, do you want to speak to this?
You have the audit in your packet. This, again, we're going to move to a future meeting. Our auditors will come and explain all of this to us, since it's very technical and specific for field of municipal accounting. So they weren't able to come tonight, but they can come to a future meeting and by Zoom and give us an overview. So
Sounds great.
we can have that at the next meeting or one after. So,
All right. Topic 7, an MOU with Franklin County Solid Waste Management District regarding the hauling and disposal of our sludge.
Yep, we do this every year. We signed it last year. Sludge costs are increasing, which is not great. But I don't know if Marlo has anything he wants to say on this.
Yeah, well,
Sure.
we're pretty fortunate that all our loads don't go all the way to Lowell, like most communities, because our plant doesn't produce the amount such as like Greenfield. They're spending 1.2 million for disposal of sludge this coming year. So we have the opportunity to take some of our loads to Montague, which is a much cheaper fuel charge than running all the way to Lowell. So I know that it's still a lot of money. It's been increasing drastically the last 6-7 years for all communities, but like I said, we need to get rid of the sludge. So we're fortunate that we're not paying full boat to Lowell on all our loads that we ship out. So
We have, I think, $80,000 budgeted for this year, and
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll get right up to that. But
Yep.
this is kind of the only way to go for us right now. So we'd recommend signing this MOU. And
I think in the budget history, I looked at it and trying to remember back in the fall, we've stayed within budget when we started shipping some loads to Montague when they were accepting it from us here.
Right.
So
And we do this all the time, so I'll make a motion to approve Franklin County Solid Waste Management District MOU as presented.
Seconded.
Motion made, motion seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Topic 8, the fire department structure update and options. Chief, come on up.
Evening, everybody. So I'd like to start first with just a quick overview. I haven't been here for a few months, but just a quick overview so it kind of brings some of the rest of it into context. So far, as of Sunday night, we're at 105 fire calls, 224 EMS calls year to date. We've required 2 ALS intercepts, so we had a BLS truck on and we needed a paramedic to come in and help out. Out of that 224 EMS calls, though, we've required mutual aid EMS 124 times. So it's a very large percentage. On the fire side, we've had mutual aid in 6 times in total, which meant no Hatfield fire response at all. And that was 3 covered by Whately and 3 covered by the city of Northampton. Quick breakdown, we've had 161 transports and 63 no transports total, and that does include our mutual aid. I have those broken down if you want those numbers as well. So essentially what we're looking at is there's been 92 mutual aid transports since January 1st, which equates to approximately $64,400 in lost revenue for the year. The month of July, we had 31 EMS calls, 9 fire calls with Whately covering 1 of those during that time. 22 transports, Hatfield was covering 5, and 1 of them included a South County intercept. South County transported 13, and Northampton Fire transported 4. So for the month, and there was 9 no trips for the month as well. So for July, the 17 mutual aid that South County in total, or total South Counties and mutual aid, $5,950 in fees and about $11,900 in lost revenue for the month of July. So you can see where that's just shy of $18,000 swing one way or the other when you start looking at it. So far, just for the month of August, some of you may have seen, we've been pretty busy. So through Sunday night, there's been 15 EMS calls, 7 fire calls. There's been 8 transports. Hatfield has transported 2, South County's transported 4, Northampton 1, and we've even had East Hampton transport 1. That was a 22-minute response delay for an ambulance to get to town. On the fire side, Hatfield's covered 5 of them. We had Whately come in on a box alarm. Whately covered 1 as primary, and Northampton Fire also covered a fire call as primary response. Just for reference, so there's been 8 South County EMS mutual aid so far this month, again, through Sunday. So that's $2,800 in fees, approximately $3,500 in lost revenue. So if you look at from July 1st, the fiscal year, through August 9th, you take in all the money of lost revenue and the fees, and it's $24,150 that the town has either lost and or spent. So that's just a quick reference so people kind of understand where we're at as the residents that are watching and also you folks. The second part, any questions on that before I move on?
if you can send that to us, just so we have it.
Yeah, I was
record,
trying to
that'd be
write it
really
down
helpful.
and
Yeah, I gave up
gave
taking
up.
notes pretty quickly.
It was kind of flowing, and I was going to get to the update tonight, and my first meeting took a little bit longer, so I didn't get a chance to do the update. So everything was through today, but I'll put it all on.
I'm just curious on the fire calls. What kind of fire calls were they? All?
We've had car accidents, we've had fire alarms, we've had CO alarms. We had a box alarm. We had a chimney fire that got put out as a box alarm. It ended up being unfounded. But even the shed over at Smith Academy, it was a shed. But in the end, there was only 3 responders from Hatfield for that call. and one was delayed because he's actually coming from Sunderland. So we're just, as I've said for 3 years, we're just dwindling in our numbers. If we don't have staff, there's just not enough call people to handle these calls, and they come at inopportune times, unfortunately. So it's where we're at. Anything else on the numbers?
No, I know the problems we have. We're just looking for answers because if we go back to town and look for money, as long as we can say, this is what we need to do, then this is what we need to do, and this is what it's going to cost, and it's up to the town to fund it. That's all. I mean, it's.
Yep. I don't disagree. I think the residents just need to understand that there's been a lot of discussion over the last 3 years that, eventually somebody will come, because that comment's been made numerous times over the last 3 years that, well, it does come down to money. I'm fully aware of that. But at the end of the day, what does the town want for their response? And we cannot rely on mutual aid. As one of these calls proves, South County was not available, Northampton was not available, Highland was not available. So it went to our 4th mutual aid for the ambulance. So it was East Hampton. So your lives as residents of this community are relying on, at this point, mutual aid to come in and cover as a primary resource, not our own people. That's unfortunately where we are at right now. This is where we've been heading for 3 years. This is why my proposals have been coming out for the last couple of years.
So, I mean,
going to happen.
do we move towards, since we can't get people, do we move towards a private company like Acton to come in and cover, or, I mean, which way do we move?
So
That's what I'm asking.
that is a bigger question that needs to be answered. Unfortunately, I think that they need to decide if they're willing to have a discussion with the town of Hatfield. I can pretty much guarantee that none of the private ambulance companies are going to bid on a contract here. They're not going to zero bid it. They're going to charge, and the
There'd
likelihood
be
is that
significant
it's gonna-
subsidy. Yeah,
What's that?
there'd be significant subsidy needed for any of the private companies.
And honestly, this is the same as we're going with the possibility of South County taking us over. They're not going to do it for free. And if they become primary, it's no longer going to be $350 a call. They're going to want a flat rate to know that they are our ambulance and become part of that system. I have spoken to the chief, Chief Drumgill up there very briefly. I know Andrew also spoke. They're looking for some data from us. Some of it was a little bit preempted, but we will be getting it to them. He does estimate that just to be part of their system, not a truck here, so it's still going to be an average of about a 14-minute response time if they're available. He expects that number to probably be at about $450,000 a year for just the EMS.
Yep.
And then you're still going to have
That
to
was
worry
South
about.
County?
That is correct.
That's his early number, and that would be
That's early with
for
no other-
24/7.
That's 24/7
Yeah.
with the truck in South Deerfield,
Yep.
Not in Hatfield?
not here. If the town would like to go down that path, I can tell you from the previous or 2 chiefs ago, that number was over $750,000 if you wanted a truck here, because essentially it meant that they were staffing 2 people 24/7 here, and they would also be looking for the town of Hatfield to basically outfit the station, which potentially would have to happen even if we were to go 24/7. So that's a kind of a wash, but they also hold all the cards.
Just a quick question. If the truck was stationed here, since we would be potentially part of the South County system, it doesn't necessarily guarantee the Hatfield would have coverage, correct? They could still take that truck and respond to any of the other South County systems or mutual aid partners that they have.
That is correct.
Right.
Yes.
So while it may speed up response times, sometimes it's not a guarantee that you're going to get a truck from Hatfield.
That is correct.
Would the same be true if Hatfield had its own 24/7? Because wouldn't we respond sometimes to other?
It could be another call in town, or it could go to a mutual aid call and then miss a call in town. That's all possible.
Right, but at that point, we would already be on a call. We would be covering that first call. Now we run the risk of, we don't have a truck, South County can't cover the first call, and then a second call happens, and now you have double mutual aid coming in, and you're still paying.
So right now,
I see.
I'm trying to remember, what did you say the cost would be for 2 firefighter paramedics on the 24-hour shift to cover? What would, if we had, I mean, I'm just saying, if we had what the firefighters want, 24-hour coverage.
Mhm.
And what would that cost look like compared to how much more it would cost us now? Because right now we're paying 350 plus about another 125. We're paying almost $500,000. We're getting back like 128. So I'm just curious if we ever looked at those numbers to see how much more it would be to do it in that position, because you guys have mentioned numerous times, the only way people want to work here is if they have 24-hour coverage. So have you actually come up with any figures of what that would cost would be?
So that was what I proposed last year in the override. So the salaries and new expenses was, I think, $380,712.59.
In addition,
top
in
of
on
the
top
annual
of.
budget.
On top of, and then I think we accounted for 100,000 in benefits. So I think the total override last year was 480.
Yep.
So
That would be
that was
another-
the above and beyond what we are. You're running a full-time ALS fire service based ambulance. And I think it came out to 862,000 or thereabouts.
So another 350 on top of what we have, plus the benefits of around 15 grand per person.
And was there a differential in the profit?
If we were running a 24/7 ambulance, conservatively, I was estimating in the first year, not knowing total calls, I was conservatively estimating there would be an additional $60,000 in new revenue on the first year.
And that compares to an Acton type of company coming in 24/7.
375.
That
So it's
would
about
be-
100K.
They would be a lot higher, or would they be similar to that 100,000 number?
Well, the difference that I think is being skipped over is that Action Ambulance or another private EMS provider is only EMS provider. It's
Right.
not helping the fire staffing situation.
Oh, I understand that. I'm just
So I
looking
think that's a
at,
big part of the conversation that has to be had, because if you were going to compare apples to apples, then let's compare apples to apples. The chief has been presenting something that is covering both EMS and fire coverage versus the other options that have been presented is strictly EMS. So the numbers are never going to line up perfectly even.
I've been looking the last few years to how to convince the town on what Bob's been saying. So that's why I'm asking these questions.
Yeah.
Just not that I'm against it and I'm not comparing, because that conversation we're having now, we've been having that conversation the last year. How do we present this, and what will work, and how do we get the town to go with it? That's all.
I mean,
That's-
ultimately, to create a number that makes sense, that is comparing apples to apples, I don't know if it's been done yet, but if the chief or someone can run a number of what it would also cost to staff to strictly just firefighters in the station, that would then help provide that fire aspect coverage.
Hmm.
That, and then you take
Or-
that plus the private EMS number, combine those, and then let's compare the $840,000 number to whatever that number is, and now we can have an educated conversation on what does this actually look like.
So maybe
That's
that's
all
what we
verified.
need to do.
Put that together.
Right.
Yes, that's
I
fine.
think we need like three options, right?
Right. I mean, because
Nothing,
that's,
everything, something in between.
right, because that's ultimately the conversation here, is that it's not only the EMS side of things that is struggling, it's also the fire response as well. So by putting 2 people or 3 people in the station full-time, 24-hour coverage, you're checking multiple boxes. You're getting both EMS and fire. You're able to bring in revenue from those transports. And so, yes, it's a big ask for the taxpayers to spend, but there also is ways to offset some of those costs.
I do
Versus
think, yeah, I
Go
do think,
private EMS, it's all money out. We're not getting a dime back for any of those receivables. And you're still not addressing the fire aspect of things.
I was gonna say, I do think that we need to also clarify like the time, the arrival times. And I know Luke, you've mentioned like the personal, like, hey, I know you, I know where you're,
So you have knowledge of the building.
I know how your house works or whatever, some of those things. And to Ed's point, put it back to the town.
I think quick numbers, like, because I have some of it
The,
here.
the numbers I find overwhelming, I'll be honest.
But
We're
what do you have?
essentially
Besides the
starting,
dollar amounts.
we're essentially starting from scratch. I mean, that's kind of where we're at, is that we have based everything off of what we've been doing. It's now not really working. And I think that, to Ed's first point, getting the residents on board is telling them that what's been told to them for 3 years, that mutual aid will show up, is no longer the option.
Yep.
That should not be the primary answer to the residents when they're having a medical problem or their house is on fire or they have a smoke alarm going off, is that somebody will eventually come. That is, as a taxpayer here, that's not very comforting to know that we're basically playing with people's lives and we just hope that somebody will be available in the next 15 to 30 minutes. And at some point, we know that we're paying South County. If it grows and we continue to use those other resources, I've talked to these other agencies, they are all going to start charging us for both fire calls and EMS calls. So then everybody is going to start taking money from the taxpayers of Hatfield and they will get nothing in return.
And sadly, I hate to say it, but that might have to happen to drive those numbers up to show on paper, this is what you're paying. I mean, I don't know how else to
And that might
convince
be the
people.
answer, but when is it too late?
No,
When
exactly.
is it going to be too late?
I
that
agree
something
with you.
bad
I agree
happens
with you.
And
I'm
it
just
takes the
saying.
town having to pay money out because of a potential lawsuit
Yeah.
to make it realize that was $450,000 or $480,000 worth it to make sure that this town and its infrastructure is ultimately protected. And everybody that drives through here every day, because it is not just the 3,200 people that live here. There are thousands of cars on 91. We've been on 91, 6 times, I think, in the last week and a half. So we're doing more than 3,200 people. And that's what we have to realize. We are covering fire and EMS for everything in the border. And our side, just much like Chief DeKoschak, everything is life safety. People's lives and homes and valuables are ultimately on the hook. And if we take a step backwards, people are also going to start seeing it on the other side. If we don't do something, homeowners insurance will go up due to the lack of staffing. Our ISO rating the number will go up, which means you're going to pay more. So this has more than just a single effect of putting a number to something, getting the staffing here. There's other real consequences. And then what is the answer?
I mean, you're
I'm
preaching.
presenting this as we need to move.
I know.
We should have moved probably 10 or 15 years ago because the town has grown. And now we're in this world where there is literally nobody left.
So Chief, I think you wanted to also talk about another proposal
Yes.
this evening.
So barring the numbers that I've presented tonight and some of your questions, this is a proposal potentially to move forward. It might help ease some of the burden. What I told you for a quick number for just firefighters, that was just fire. You still have to account for potentially another $500,000 of EMS or thereabouts coming in. So you're still going to end up potentially in a $650,000 to $725,000 range. This is a proposal that I've been working on for a little while. It was something that came up earlier this year. And it's the idea, and I think it somewhat might mimic what Chief DeKoschak was in here speaking to you earlier on. And it would be a proposed shared resources proposal. This is based off of the Hatfield Fire Department and the town moving to a full-time staff department, 2 people, 24/7, 365. The agreement essentially would be, instead of a full regionalization, it would be similar to, I believe, what Chief DeKoschak, I wish I could have been here, would be an MOU or an MOA. In this case, I proposed it with the town of Hadley, and that's strictly because of my current position in both communities and knowing both players. Part of my idea would be is that both towns would essentially run operationally, they would run financially independent when it comes to the day-to-day operations of the department. So the 2 people on shift in each community, essentially financed by each community. The MOA would be for a shared fire chief and deputy fire chief full-time. The original thought would be is that maybe the fire chief would be a 50-50 split of their salary between the 2 communities. The deputy chief could be either a 50-50 or a 60-40, depending on the intended workload. And based off of me knowing both communities, I think either one would be optional. Part of the idea would be is along with those two people that are in both towns, 7 days a week, 5 days a week, there would be a chief officer in both communities. So no matter what, there'd be somebody to make command level decisions in both communities. There could be the option of one individual in both, or one individual all 5 days. But my thought would be is to split it up and say maybe the chief is in one town 3 days and then switch it to the opposite week. But it essentially would leave you that there's a chief officer in both towns, Monday through Friday, making decisions, being a third person on the engine, third on the ambulance, whatever is needed, while also doing those administrative tasks, which is their primary function. Some of the other benefits could turn into is also shared capital assets. And I'll give you an example. We approved to replace the car one here in Hatfield this year for the fire department at approximately $85,000. Across the river, it is coming up for a proposal at special town meeting this fall to also replace one of the vehicles, which as we cycle through vehicles would turn into the fire chief's vehicle. Also, they have it proposed for about $90,000 over there. That could be then shared asset. And now each town could essentially push in $45,000 if we take the highest number. So you see an instant savings when you start looking at capital assets. As far as future apparatus, there might be the ability that you don't need as many fire apparatus between the two, because part of my next proposal is the resources and who's coming and where they're coming from. So part of it would be is that everyday calls, you know, a fire alarm, a CO alarm, minor car accidents, the such, is ultimately going to be handled by those two on-duty personnel and or the chief officer if they're already out on a medical and a fire alarm comes in, at least there was a person to then go and ultimately mitigate that fire alarm. So it gives the opportunity to cover multiple calls, go to a second medical, start rendering aid, then while the mutual aid ambulance is coming in, or even while our ambulance is returning, but there is patient care started. So it's good for the residents. When it comes to large incidents, essentially you would leave that you would have a chief officer in town at virtually all times, that Monday through Friday, and barring that this proposal was something that would be interested in, even after hours, I currently don't have any intentions of leaving town, which means I would be here for that initial structure fire, gas leak, whatever. So now the chief officer is here right away with other resources potentially coming, and including another full-time deputy. Part of this plan is to not change any of the current structure of any of the firefighters, the officers, or anything else right now. They would continue to operate as they are right now. Does that mean that through attrition, if people start retiring, we may revisit how the departments are laid out in some of the command level positions? Sure, I would say that that might be something that would be looked at, but that would not be part of my initial intention, is so nobody would lose rank in either department.
So it would be, just so I summarize and get it in my head, we would have two people 24/7, and one of those two people would be, or we would have three people 24/7.
Two people 24/7 and a chief officer Monday through Friday day shift. And then as needed after hours,
And
pretty much automatically.
the rank of that chief officer would have to be at what, lieutenant captain?
It would be a fire chief and a deputy fire chief.
Are we
And
set
would
up today
be-
for 24/7 with our current?
We are not.
We would be splitting the administrative side.
Correct.
Okay.
So you're taking, and yes, it is now two positions. So overall, this proposal does ultimately lead that Hatfield will end up spending more than they currently are. That is almost a give me. What it does is that you're splitting that chief cost or that command level across two people. For rough proposal, as I did this a couple of months ago, the command level positions, you're essentially paying only about an extra $10,000 or $12,000 a year, but you are gaining an extra entire body 5 days a week, one way or another, to be able to work. Part of the response would be is that either town gets a fire or a large incident, it's automatic, right? So if Hatfield has that structure fire, now Hadley's coming automatically with their ladder. It leaves Northampton's ladder actually in their station, so we're not completely pulling all of their resources. And then be vice versa. If Hadley has a fire, we're already on their run card. So Hatfield is already going with an engine to go to their fires just the same as they come to us. So nothing changes as far as that day-to-day operations on how that goes. We're already going to do those things. And then, yes, there's always the chance that another call could happen, but we do that today.
Yeah.
That if there's a fire, well, a couple hours ago, the on-duty crew is going to go in the engine. They're going to go mutual aid in Northampton, Whately, Hadley, doesn't matter where it is. And then that next medical might be mutual aid. But that's just going to be the nature of the staffing unless you want to go into like 4 and 5 people. But
Now,
that's,
with Chief Kochek, he sort of setting this up in 3 phases. So in order for your proposal to happen, I'm just trying to visualize the different steps that would have to occur. Of course, Hadley would have to be in agreement with this.
Correct.
And I don't know if they've even been approached on this yet.
this has been presented to the select board over there
Okay.
about a
And-
week and a half ago.
Okay, so
My
they're
negotiation.
aware of it. So I guess the next process would be, if we want to move forward with this, would be meeting with some representatives of Hadley and some representatives of us to sit down and look at some concerns that they may have, we might have. So that would be the next step. And then if that worked out, the next step after that would have to be the select boards meeting together.
Mhm.
And then I guess if that works out, knowing how to phase this in, then the next steps would have to probably be going to town meeting for the money. And that would probably be, in my mind, I'm just looking at the various steps within the process for this to happen, that's all.
I agree. Both sides have to even consider as an option and then actually sit down and hash out some of the higher level details and then get into it. What this does is that it solves a lot of problems for Hatfield, as opposed to right now, I think there's some options out there, right? Do we outsource EMS? Do we outsource fire because we're having trouble? Do we go all in? This is kind of that middle of the road. It does ultimately save a little bit more money. This proposal, instead of 380, drops it down to the difference would end up being approximately 250,000 above what is currently budgeted in total for FY27 for fire and ambulance here in town, because you're sharing some of those costs.
So that this current proposal is fire and EMS combined.
It is. This is the whole thing, split deputy, split chief, the 2 communities with 2 personnel on both sides, doing ambulance calls, making revenue, still being able to cover some fire calls and pending, simultaneous, but we do that now.
I mean, it doesn't hurt to have some discussions because we're sort of out of options. We've been out of options for a while now. So, I mean, it doesn't hurt to have a discussion with, the next step would be some reps from our board to meet with some reps from Hadley just to open up discussion.
Yeah, let's do it.
They were not opposed. They're kind of very similar. It's just they needed more info. Just like tonight, I think theirs was probably only about 5 minutes I presented, just because it wasn't part of the original agenda. So it was kind of that, it's an option, and they're like, we kind of want to hear more because they've been interested in this for about a year or 2, it sounds like.
Are they looking at any other? I think my concern is, I think it's very simple with like the police, because it's like, cool, we're sharing one chief resource, but everything else kind of stays the same. This is feeling a little more complicated to me in that I would imagine Hadley's being called to Amherst like a lot. Like they're going to be out in the over river on the other side with a lot more complications, where I would feel better if it wasn't just one-to-one town, but rather
But you're having
more towns kind of coming together as a collective to give more coverage to everybody.
And I could see your point. I think the only thing in my head when I originally thought this, and I kind of had thought that, is it better to go north and south? But they're both call departments. That's a lot of buildup for both to get on board, where one is already established and you got one player that's already currently in both, which is already solving it. You want to go and start a full regional, I think you're looking at 2 years and you don't have that time, because you're talking about creating a fire district. You have to file legislation. There's a lot more to it. This is more of an MOA for chief and deputy chief, essentially, and then like capital assets as a high level of, that's really what you're looking at. As
Yeah,
opposed
because
to
you'd
doing a
still-
full regional.
this would still allow for this would give you the 2 people in station 24 hours. So Hatfield would still have its coverage.
Mm.
Right. We have
Just
our
similar as how
examples.
Hadley currently has 24-hour staffing. And
In town, we'd have more coverage than we have today.
correct.
Correct. It solves the problem that we've kind of brought up earlier, that we're having trouble covering calls. So it gives the bodies, it gives somebody there to make decisions. Administrative work is still being shared. Everything is still happening, and it's making the progress that we probably are. Well, we're basically 3 years behind on the progress. So it jumps us a long way, but with some savings and future savings as well.
I think it's important to call out too what we already own in terms of assets and everything. Like, I really struggle when I think about giving away. Once you give those assets away, you're gone. So I just kind of want to call that out to the people of the town that might be thinking.
And the other problem
And
with
this wouldn't
South
give away any
County,
assets.
Correct.
the other problem with South County right now is there's multiple towns, so you have to deal with all the other towns to be in agreement with us to tie in, where now Hadley is just one town, so we don't
We'll
even
just
have
build
to
a
give
bridge, man.
agreement with one instead of.
And I don't have this.
It wasn't us. They said no.
No, it was voted down to not build the bridge. It was a discussion years ago to have a bridge that would come out on Bridge Lane from Hadley to Hatfield. There was a conversation, it was very short-lived.
I would imagine this town would say no, thank you. But
So I don't know this for 100%, but I obviously in our field, we hear things, we talk to people. The rumor that I am hearing is that the other 3 towns that are part of South County are not on board right now to accept us. They're going to have to really be persuaded, because all 3 of them also see an increase in their cost because of the way that their system is built. And it's anywhere from Whately was going to run at about a 14 to 16%, and South Deerfield and Deerfield being the largest, they could potentially see up to a 26% increase, at least off of a couple of years numbers ago. So they obviously have to rerun their numbers, and Chief Drumgold is good at that. But that's a big ask for 3 towns to be like, hey, take us on, take Hatfield, increase my annual assessment, and I'm still not necessarily guaranteed that truck's going to be available to me, because it could be in Deerfield or it could be
I
with us.
understand that some people are going to ask that question about the bridge, but the bridge really isn't that much of a factor, because you still have a group here and a group in Hadley. You're just sharing the administrative side, and you're still going to be independent of each other. And then if needed, support from across the bridge could probably happen. But I mean, if you're expecting the ambulance from Hadley to come here, then it would be an issue, but that's not what this proposal is,
Right.
I guess, right? So.
Exactly.
Yep.
And I think it lends itself to a future, it puts a Band-Aid on the situation, and it lends itself to a future conversation down the road of creating a fire district if needed.
Correct. Absolutely. It can
Right.
definitely grow from there. This is a low level, but it fixes the immediate problem really on both sides. Cause I will admit, like, there's some things that are happening over there. I mean, I'm in the process of hiring, but they're not ready to go all in. This is a bridge for them, right? This helps them, this helps us. And it kind of solves almost all the problems as far as fire and EMS. I can't speak for full townwide problems, but it really does kind of fix everything that we need to as far as our department is concerned, in a nice little package with a relative amount of work. This isn't rewriting every SOG, rewriting final legislation, creating a fire district. I know those take a lot. I've done the research. I mean, Charlemont and Rowe are going through it right now. They filed, I think, 6 months ago, and they expect it might take another 8 to 12 months. And they just appointed a chief to be in charge of both for right now while they.
I think what would be really helpful is a very clear and concise graph of, this is what we're currently paying. This is what this proposal, the current budget plus the additional asks, and what that number is. And then a third that would be, if we try to keep this all in-house, what is that true number?
Sure.
Just, we don't need it. I don't think we need it broken down further, like of time of call during day and all that stuff.
Right.
It's just too verbose. So just nice and simple, something that we could hand to anybody on the street. You can look at what those 3 numbers are, and a synopsis on the bottom of what each system, what you're getting.
So
Agreed.
you're like, maybe what salary is, what expense line is, and then some projected revenue if it was
don't
an
even think so. I
internal to
think
see that offset.
I wanna see
Current
that,
and then-
at least, yeah.
For each option, yeah.
Kind of the.
If you get me everything, I can help make sure that we put together
Yeah.
a
Executive
comparison of all
level,
of them.
just,
I have like
And then make sure-
90% of this done.
I imagine that includes it's part of the trailers again, the rental for bunks.
Yeah,
essentially?
that would be one. Yeah.
Okay.
I know that was included in last year as part
Yeah.
of that
Yeah.
3-year.
I mean,
goal,
it's
Whatever
like
that
a
number
section
is.
of that bar graph could be like a green section that would be projected revenue expected with each
Yep.
of these systems, right? And then your big number on the bottom is what the total ask for the taxpayers is.
Yep.
Of what we would have to go to town meeting for.
I think
The additional benefits of this proposal to the town is
you have
important to
another-
add with that, so.
I mean, this is something, I think deficit reduction committee needs to see this, I
Yeah.
would think.
I'm just, part of me is also going to, it feels like the proposed 24/7 model is still in the flood zone and not necessarily a permanent, like, it just feels like, if we're going to go for it, what would it look
have to
like to
change,
move
move the
something out of
station.
town?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that becomes part of that 2040 plan, right? Like that was a little piece.
That's
of
where
it.
I'm
I
kind
was
of
like,
coming at it
where's
from
our
that
stuff?
perspective. Like, hey, do we really want something that could be blown over in a strong
it's-
storm? I don't know.
But
Our
yeah, you
immediate
could.
problems of the staffing and the response time, I think, is of higher pertinence than where the station is necessarily located.
You couldn't get
and-
a station built. in
Right,
one time,
exactly. And
unfortunately.
moving in, whether it's this regional plan or whatever it might be, getting it established and running well, and then we, of course, would have the option to
Agreed.
be able to
Totally
create
agree.
something.
Like, once
I
we
don't
know what
think-
direction we're going in,
Right.
I want to think about it like as stewards of the future of this town, like not just spending too much,
Right.
being careful not to spend too much money into maybe what might be a temporary solution.
I think proving that, it works. There's revenue there.
Correct.
You would retain, almost all of the oversight out of this entire proposal. I mean, the two boards essentially would still have some mixed about a few things, but essentially each town still also retains all that power, where any other option, you're going to lose some level of power. However much that is, I don't really know.
Yep.
You're just one player at the table.
Right.
If you start going into a,
I think in the public safety complex is certainly a conversation that plays into this, but I don't know if we necessarily need to loop it all in at one time. I think it just gets
No,
things
I
way
just
too
know
messy.
that team is looking at this already. So I just,
There might be some news soon about some consultant assistance that could help us with all of this as well.
Yeah.
For a state grant that's currently embargoed.
perfect. Yeah.
show that all
we
of
can
it
use it.
works, and then the building can be the next phase. Because once you prove that everything is working and everything is what we think it's going to be, it shows a lot easier to go to the residents and say, look at the system's working. Now we just need to put them in something that's not a trailer.
I just think it's fair to go back
Yeah.
to the town, and if we're going to ask for just kind of show that it's not short-sighted, we're not just pulling an emergency.
Pretty sure it's in my
Ripcord.
FY29 capital request.
Yes. Yeah.
Is there anybody else who would like to talk on this?
I'd like to say something because,
Come up to the mic. Come on, Bill.
You know how this works.
I'm gonna stay here, chief, or you want me to go back?
This ain't your first rodeo.
no, I like to say something, this is, we're in a crisis right now. Right now, mutual aid is being called in to do EMS calls, fire calls. And this is not the way mutual aid is made to work.
Mm.
Mutual aid is here. If Hatfield's out on a call and a second call comes in, okay, that's mutual aid. When the Hatfield doesn't have any staff and you have to call somebody else, that's not mutual aid. You're calling somebody else in. That's not the way it's supposed to work, we're calling in South County for overnight coverage, basically, right? Every
Yeah,
night.
we have no overnights at all.
That's not mutual aid. We did that study here back in 2023, right?
2023.
All right, 3 years ago. And a lot of the boards here, including the finance committee and a couple of the select board, did not agree with that. And it clearly shows. And what did it say on it? That, he'd been trying to fill positions 24-hour shifts work best. These guys don't want to work 16 hours a day because they work 24 hours somewhere else. They come in per diem. They don't want to work a 16-hour day. They want 24. Nobody here would agree with it. Now we're in a crisis. You don't have any fire, well, you have some fire personnel left, but you're not getting the calls covered from Hatfield. Northampton coming in, Whately coming in. That doesn't look good for Hatfield. I mean, you got to do something, and it's really, it's hitting now. I mean, we can't be talking about, well, we can do this, do this. What you guys got to do is get the finance committee on board and everything, and make them see that, all right, we got to do something right now. You can't let it sit back and wait. Because I think some of these other towns are getting, upset with Hatfield because they're having to go send their fire department down to Hatfield. Northampton comes in, or Whately comes down. South County comes in.
Well, sounds like we have a plan we're going to try, so.
Well, it is, but it's going to take a while to work too.
Oh.
Right now,
We do need to have an emergency town meeting, I think.
yeah, something's got to be done. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, when East Hampton had to come in the other day, what was it, difficulty breathing? How would you like to be sitting there with difficulty breathing and wait 20 minutes or whatever, 25 minutes, whatever, for an ambulance to show up? When you could have one here, potentially. Yeah, they might be on a call, but you'd be on the scene in what? 6 minutes?
We average 4 minutes
Yeah.
when we're staffed.
Yeah.
From time of call to time of.
That's a big difference. If you're having a heart attack, 20 minutes, 25 minutes, might as well call the undertaker.
Hmm.
So,
All right,
okay,
thank you.
that's all I got to say. So,
Thanks, Chief.
John, do you have something to add?
Yeah, following Chief Belden here. Gonna go back to 1963, town of Whately. Sorry. 1963, Whately. My grandfather had a heart attack. At that time, the chief went with his car, station wagon, AKA ambulance, and a first responder, a firefighter. They did CPR. My grandfather was dead. But that's 1963. What's changed? A lot of things have changed. We got an ambulance in town. Lions Club donated a lot of money. We got an ambulance. Made people happy that they had their own people. A lot of people volunteered to come on board as EMTs. Then some even went a little bit further. I grew up next to my father. I heard a lot of BS. Oh, you got Northampton to cover. You got Northampton to cover. Well, had a house fire over here, next door, 1999, 1st of March, snowstorm. House fire. Woman says, where's the fire department? They're coming. I was sleeping 5 minutes ago. Aren't they sleeping over here? No. You need a ladder. Northampton couldn't respond because their ladder was down. East Hampton had to come in with an open cab truck. Telling the highway department, Sonny, we got fire coming in from Northampton and East Hampton. Keep the roads open. Whately's coming in South Deerfield too. That's 1999. About 35 years ago or more. A lot of things have changed, but still you need manpower. You need people here in town to respond. Heard that BS all the time. Northampton can respond. Northampton can respond. Where did the ambulance go, Chief? No, I can't say.
I tried to cover it. I'm not sure exactly where they responded to, but
There you go, Northampton. We cover Northampton. Something's got to be done. I know nobody wants to pay high taxes or whatever, but hey, I put in 36 plus years. Chief Belden put in a lot more too, and a lot of free time too. Free. Not being paid, free time. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
question for Andrew, if I could. Out of the 2 letters that went out, did we hear back? We kind of know about one of them. Did we
South
hear
County's
back?
meeting right now as we speak, and
Right.
their Board of Oversight is considering this.
Did we hear back from the
No,
other?
Northampton didn't give us a response. So I'm talking with them to figure out what's going on, but nothing yet from Northampton.
It
South
just
County
plays-
is taking this seriously.
Yeah, it plays into, obviously this is a new proposal. Nobody's heard this, or, the fire officers have, but, you guys haven't really known any of this. This was trying to give you another option out there. And I think what Andrew just said is kind of leading you to a direction that the mutual aid is not going to be the answer. Another agency is going to tell us potentially no. And you're going to be left with maybe South County with either a full-time or a part-time fire department here, or the all-in. Like we're down to minimal options and being able to provide protection for our residents. And that's the main objective. I know everything comes down to money, but what is ultimately a life worth if we can't get to the calls and nobody else can, or it's 30 minutes? So it's a concern.
I think everyone hears that. I think heard what we're spending now with the differential is for each of the options and the time, the response time, and I think we can socialize that and start making some moves.
I do suspect that the amount that was allocated for those fees, if we don't make some choice prior to, next fiscal year, I'm expecting that we will be over on that line. We won't have enough money based off of the current projection. Just so you guys know.
Yeah. Also good data.
Yeah.
Part of my job to let you know
Yep.
if I think there's a shortfall, and we're 42 days into the fiscal year, and I suspect that there's going to be a shortfall in that particular line. Thank you for your time. I know I gave you guys a lot of information, and I hope to move forward. I hope it's optional.
Quick question, though. All right. The fire chief job was posted?
Yes.
I understand that? Is there a residency requirement on that job description?
No.
How come?
I was told what we did was we posted it the way it was already written before. We did not do any changes to it.
I think you need some sort of residency requirement.
I think some kind of mileage requirement makes sense. You probably wouldn't do residency within town of Hatfield.
You know, we had a town administrator, your old position, the guy drove from Harvard every day.
Yeah. Not good.
You want a fire chief that lives in, wherever? If
It
you have
depends on the
emergency-
structure of the position. If he was purely administrative, maybe it could, but that's not the way the town's supposed to work.
He drove for an hour and a half, but if there's no residence requirement and somebody meets the position and you decide to give them the job, then, you're an hour and a half away. So
That's a good point.
potentially further.
Let's make a note of that for the contract.
Yeah.
I did bring that up to Andrew when I responded back after the posting went out. That was definitely a concern. And I agree. I don't think you're not going to find somebody in this town that's going to be qualified. So that's not going to be a thing.
No.
I'm not trying to be that person, but in this community, I'm probably about the only one that's got the qualifications 100% of what that job description is written as. But having a mileage, to your point, I think it's job's not an administrative position only. I know they might work Monday through Friday if that ends up being the potential option, if this even works, but they're still responsible for coming back here, and you don't want the fire chief or the deputy chief even 35, 45, 55 minutes away. That's not ideal. So it should be looked at to be within either a time or a mileage, whichever option. We're an emergency field. It can't be that, well, yeah, I'll be on my way and I'll get there. So,
Great.
Thank you very much. I appreciate all your time.
Thanks, guys.
Okay. Moving on to topic 9, a contract between the town of Hatfield and RKG for a housing production plan.
The proposal is with you. What I'm just looking for tonight is the ability to enter into moving forward this contract. If you, I have a draft contract for you. RKG is still going to review it, but RKG is on the finance side, and Innis Land Associates is the planning firm that will work with them. Both great firms. I've worked with them before, so I think they'd be very good to take care of the scope of work. It's a good proposal that's before you, but just looking for a vote to move forward with the contract, and then you'll still need to sign it once the contract is done.
And this is being funded through grants?
This is Community Preservation Act dollars.
Okay.
Yep, entirely through CPA.
And you've already reviewed the contract and you're happy with it.
Proposal looks great. Contract is our form standard contract and has been sent to RKG to make sure that they have no issues with it. It'll go through legal and accounting as well, like always, but contract should be fine.
And our lawyers already looked at this or?
It's a form contract, but the lawyer will review it as
Fine.
well.
Well, with that being said, I'll make a motion to approve the contract with RKG for housing production plan.
Seconded.
Motion made, motion seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
All right on to topic 10, Western Earthworks letter of support to Mass DOT for their new proposed property entrance.
So this is a follow-up from last time. The big thing that's changed is that we have received the proposal from Western Earthworks. I thought it was in your packet. I did send it to you as well, so you had that. So it's something for us to look at. The important thing to know is that this will need to go through planning board. So we don't need to make any decisions tonight, I don't believe, because we should probably have planning board review this first. That'll be an opportunity for them to amend their special permit. That's what they would need to do in order to approve this. That goes through a butter notification and a meeting in which abutters can speak as well. So there'll be more consideration of this that needs to happen. But this is for us to look at and to see if we have any concerns at this point. And if we do, we can either raise them directly with the applicant or we can do it through the planning board process as well.
So I'm not like great with directions, like
No problem.
north, south, east, and west. What are we looking at? What? I know they wanted to change the driveway, but what?
So HA1
bunch
is
of
the
options.
existing conditions plan. And HA2 is the demolition and erosion control plan. HA3 will be layout, grading, and drainage. So it shows you what they're planning to do there. And then HA4 is important because that's showing us the curb tie and how there'd be, the driveway on the north side and that they'd be covering over the current entrance with the landscaping and everything else. And then HA5 is temporary traffic control. So I think number 4 is probably the most pertinent with HA2. Yeah, 4 is probably the most important to look at, which shows where the new driveway would be, essentially. If you compare that to the existing conditions in HA1, you get a good sense of what it is that they're planning to do.
Do
It's a good question.
I mean, it's just longer, I guess. The entrance is longer from what it currently is.
Yeah, it goes through the uppermost triangle of that parcel, which would be demolished, and connects directly to Route 5.
But only here, not over here where the house that's going to be demolished would be. Like, it doesn't get the driveway any further away from the current.
So it's helping me to look at it with HA1 at the bottom right. And I'm orienting myself to
Like, if
Route
I do
5.
this,
Yep.
though? Is this what you mean?
Yep.
So I guess what I was picturing them taking further advantage of this land.
And they wouldn't be. They would be covering that for the most part, I
Because
think.
they do have a
That's right.
neighbor, right? That's right here.
Yep, to their north. That's right. This would be, it's an interesting question of why wouldn't they be moving further south? on
Not
Route
that I
5?
know anything about anything in this department. but
Mhm.
Just, I was surprised. I thought that was the point of sort of asking the town for that land. But
Yeah, I mean, they would be looking to discontinue the further entrance down south and then cut right through. But yeah, you're right, it is pretty close to Route 5, or close to the northern section of that land. So I guess for us, we can surface any questions that we have and probably combine this with the planning board process if we want to. I mean, the question to us is, would we support this application to MassDOT? But I think it would have to play out through the planning board process first.
I think it has to go through the planning board process first.
Any thoughts from the board? Luke, anything?
Yeah, I'm just trying to peruse the latest letter that was sent. But I would
Yes,
agree.
we did also receive a letter right before this meeting, which Virginia sent us. That
This
I'm
is
sure
a
she
new
runs off
letter.
as well. Yes, Virginia sent us this right before now, and you certainly can recognize her if you want to give her an opportunity to speak on this as well. Mr. Chair.
If you'd like to come up and speak, Virginia.
I know you guys probably haven't had a chance to review it because I was just able to put it together this afternoon after I saw the agenda item, honestly. So the letter first addresses the questions that is asking for you guys to address the questions that were brought up in the previous letter that was submitted 2 months ago. That I know that there was a board hearing on July 21st that I also attended here to talk about this new improvement. But since then, there has been nothing. I got an email at one point that said someone's been to the site to investigate all of the issues and that there would be something forthcoming, and that was over a month ago. So all the issues I brought up in that first letter, they are still valid concerns, and they directly tie to this DOT access permit. So I would strongly request not to give us the letter of support to this without the due diligence that's behind it. I've also included in the latest letter additional items that have come to light since the first letter that was sent out. Things like fuel storage on site. They have a giant tank in the middle of the parking lot. There's no record of that on a site plan that was approved. So there are things that need to be looked at. And I'm a little concerned about the fact that I've asked several boards to review this, or I've asked the select board to send it to boards that should have review in this, like the cultural council that should have had comments on this the first time it went around. The planning board, in which the special permit goes through, has not touched this at a meeting, has not reached out, has not discussed it. And I find that unacceptable, honestly. Where is the response in these items?
No, we owe you a response on that. And I told you that was coming last time, and it still hasn't happened. That's on me as the person who's trying to coordinate this from everybody. So the planning board has seen this through their chair and through their staff. And the building inspector has investigated this. So we owe you that response. And that's really on me for not getting that done.
Yeah.
So
I would like at least a very basic update like that. Like, this person's been out, they've written recommendations, they've contacted Western Earthworks, they've asked them to mitigate things, they're working on improvement plans. I mean, honestly, there's not even by Western Earthworks any good faith to fix any of the issues on site.
Yep.
Instead, I drive by and I see a whole bunch of other questionably weird things going on. There's now a 4-foot wide, 4-foot deep, 150-foot trench that's located on the fence line between on the south side and west side. What is that there for? And I know that there's not always regulatory ties, like they can't put a trench in, but it's not on site plan. I imagine it's some sort of concrete washout basin, but they're still doing things, not addressing the concerns that are already out there, and just frankly doing whatever they want. So they've submitted a new site plan, it sounds like, and a new application or an amended application.
yeah, that has to go through the planning board.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I can't imagine that going through the planning board until the issues are resolved on the current site. The new plan is an entirely different parcel, an entirely different site. So why would that get an amended permit for such large amounts of site work there?
Mhm.
And then the town still owns that road. So whether they go through planning board and get approval, the town still owns that road.
Mhm.
They can't do anything there. So it seems like they're trying to jump the gun. First of all, they're already submitting permit applications that they haven't, I don't know if they've been directed by the building board commissioner. I don't know if they've been directed by any other boards to try to address any of the issues on site. I don't know if they've been told that their engineers need to actually review the site because they did not build it to grade that they said they were going to. And that's only going to get worse. They have giant mounds of soil everywhere. This was not a soil stockpile location. They are not adhering to anything they've said or anything they've planned. And it seems like it's a pattern, honestly. In looking up things, they have been involved in 2 litigation efforts in the last 6 years where they have been sued or they have sued. One of those was in Hatfield. They sued Benson Mini Storage. So they are not the defendants in that. But we have projects that we oversee I did not know that they were the contractors on that project. But we had a permit come through Conservation Commission for Benson mini storage. They had a lot of problems where they haven't finished the work, finances get in the way. We're pretty reasonable with people when stuff like that happens. Did not know any of the background in this. Now, knowing the background in this, there were pieces of equipment on that project that were not installed, that then the engineers had to come back and be like, we don't really need them. Well, it kind of seems like now it wasn't that you didn't need it anymore. It's that you got sued by the contractor, so they stopped doing work. And then they're like, well, it's not in the permit, so now let's make this loop around about we didn't actually need it to begin with. So it's not cut and dry for any of it. They are coming into town, they're doing work in town, they've already been sued, they're already suing people. The property tax records for their site says their sale price is $100. Sale price of a piece of land like that, not $100. We know the neighbors, we know what they were asking for. So where are the tax implications for that? What are they avoiding by adding a sale price to the assessment value for $100 in that location? It's compounding things, and they have the potential to trickle out into our local area, into our local economy. They're doing work in town. Are they in preferential treatment? They worked on Day Pond restoration. I've never posed myself as a conflict for any of the projects that they're on, but where did they get an RFP? Was that a preferential contract because they were moving to town? Things like that.
They were the low bid on an invitation for bid process that played out properly.
And that's fine.
And I
those are
handled
the
that
answers.
process,
Those
so
are the questions.
that was done fairly.
And I accept that. Those are the questions, though, and the answers that I expect to come out of things like this, because it doesn't look clean, honestly. Like, just doesn't look clean. It doesn't look like anyone's watching anybody. It doesn't look like anything's going on. And nobody else cares except the people who live right next door. I know there's a zoning issue. I know there was a zoning issue last year where all of Route 5 needed to be rezoned, looking at whether it's going to be industrially zoned or taken away from industrial zonation and stuff. Those problems are still going to be there, and they're still going to have issues like this come up when you start sticking these buildings in residential neighborhoods and historic districts. What's the point of a historic district if you tear everything down and industrialize it? Not a valid question?
Is it a historic district?
It is a historic district, yeah. It's
But
a fair
we don't
question.
have any historic preservation.
Well, there's a process that needs to play out in this case in which there's a potential delay that can be caused for 10 days if someone signs on. But you're absolutely right. You need a response to this, so we'll take care of that.
So has there been a site investigation? Have the contractors been told that they have to do stuff?
Yeah, we've had
anyone given them
conversations with the
direction?
contractor. You were here when we discussed as well that they need to make some changes to the lighting, some other things we'd like to see them do. There are very few instances in which we think they're outside the bounds of their special permit from our review of it, but we'll have to go through line by line if there's anything that we missed. But from the review from our planning office, they didn't see anything that was outside the bounds of the special permit. Our building inspector didn't find the same grading issues that you reported, but I'll put all of this in writing. Sure. We'll get all of this in writing to you. And if there's anything where you think that we're wrong on, we'll look at it again. We don't want to try to dismiss any of these concerns.
Okay.
So
I don't want this pushed through. I mean, if it goes to planning board and they want to issue another permit, I'm going to be at every single one of these meetings.
Mhm.
I'm not going to go away. And if things don't get answered, I will do something about it. I will seek counsel. I will contact the news outlets. I'm a resident, I pay taxes, I volunteer on boards, and I get almost nothing out of it for those things because I don't have kids in school. My taxes don't need to support the school system. Apparently, we don't have enough town for firefighters and ambulances, enough money in town for that. So sounds like it's a good luck on getting someone to your house if you have an emergency. So it's a little perturbing. We are not on the sewer system. We do have water. Water prices keep going up, doubled in the last couple of years. My taxes have over doubled in the last couple of years. I'm paying almost $5,000. So I'm a little frustrated. I'm a little frustrated at the lack of communication, the lack of just the town working as a whole and knowing what one person is doing and one person's not doing and who's talking to who. I know they're town politics, but when it comes back to the residents, it's very frustrating to see. So.
We owe you a response on this, and I'm sorry you haven't gotten it sooner. It was your letter had a lot of points in it. I want to try to make sure it was handled correctly, but it's taken a long time, and I'm sorry for that.
No, I understand.
And when you were here at the
that
last meeting, I thought we
detail.
had a good point of contact there, but I haven't forgotten about it. I want to make sure it's provided.
And I will
I
keep this
would
out to
like-
read it outside of because we haven't had a
I know,
chance to.
I know it was. I didn't
Um,
expect anybody had seen it because it was sent late. I would like a copy of the new. Is it of the? Oh, I don't know. Whatever it is, the full application, the site
Yeah,
plan.
we received designs for their proposed curb cut, so I can send that to you.
Yes,
That's no
I would
problem.
like to review
Yep,
those.
no problem.
Thank you.
These look like they're from June 4th, so they're not.
So
We
they're not
were
from
sent
the
this.
discussion
Well, we were
from-
sent this last week, so
Okay.
we haven't had this for very long. Whatever date Berkshire Design put on it, we haven't had this very long. But yeah.
Were you able to connect? I know at the end, no.
No, I have not seen them, and honestly, I'm in almost no position to want to talk to them because it's been 2 years. It's been 2 years. They've never, hi, neighbors, or anything like that. I mean, after the last letter, every single one of their cars is still pointed at my driveway every morning. At the very least, you'd be like, hey, employees, can you just like not look at their house all day? But no. So, I mean, that's a small good faith thing. The fact that there are dead trees, so the plantings that they did put in that won't cover anything and won't mature for 20 years to actually provide any screening, the dead ones that are there, they are an excavation company. They are a landscaping company. They can dig up the dead ones and replace them, just as a maybe let's not piss off the neighbors thing. No. So I don't foresee any conversations honestly going well with them. But
Thank you.
thank you for taking my comments. I know it's a little heated, but I mean, I've been patient. So, all
You have a right to speak to all this, so appreciate it.
right. Thank you very much.
All right. So we don't need to do anything with this tonight.
No,
I
I'll
don't think we
coordinate with
can.
planning board and at least get us a sense of what the schedule is going to be with them.
Okay.
Is there a timeline I can expect responses?
I want to get this to you by the end of the week.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Andrew?
All right.
Good night.
Take
Thank
care.
you too. Topic 11, we have some appointments and resignations. So the first one would be for Seth Frisbee to the local cultural council.
Recuse.
Huh?
You should probably recuse. On this.
I will recuse. I do know
Okay, I'll
this
make a
man.
motion to appoint Seth Frisbee to the local cultural council.
I will second that. Motion made, motion seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next is the appointment of Martin O'Masta to the Municipal Affordable Housing Trust Fund.
I'll make a motion to appoint Martin O'Masta to Municipal Affordable Housing Trust Fund.
Seconded?
Motion made, motion seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
An appointment of Elizabeth Denny to the Agricultural Advisory Commission.
I will make a motion to appoint Elizabeth Denny to the Agricultural Advisory Commission.
Second.
Motion made, motion seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
An appointment of Margot Rice to the Municipal Affordable Housing Trust.
I will make a motion to appoint Margot Rice to the Municipal Affordable Housing Trust.
Motion made, motion seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
And a wage adjustment form for William Erman and Paul Miller. This is for the electrical inspector?
They were appointed as electrical inspectors, assistant electrical inspectors, and we had never done wage adjustment forms for them. And there was a request to change the payment method And instead of a $1,600 stipend for the assistant, we instead do payments by inspection. This is what Jim recommended. We'll do $65 payment per inspection, $0 for a re-inspection, so there's no perverse incentives there, which is nice. And then $100 if there's an emergency inspection, so that you have those forms to just so that we solidify the payment process for them.
And both of the alternate inspectors are on board with that payment
Yes.
change?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
They were requesting the payment per inspection.
All right, motion to approve wage adjustment forms for William Ehrman and Paul Miller.
Second.
Motion made, motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Topic 12, DPW reports.
I will just say, for executive session, our counsel is ready for us anytime. He has a hard stop at 9, but I think we'll be fine for that. So,
I
feel
too
like-
would like to have a hard stop.
Well, if you guys are the last two who are left, so if you
I'll be
guys
very
can
quick.
breeze
Marlo
through
will do
yours.
his best.
So,
Marlo's just gonna give himself accolades here for me.
No.
all right, Marlo,
I
you're
don't
up.
need the accolades, but a lot of
Well, you
people are
should.
involved in
Let me
this
rephrase.
project.
You should give it.
Very good.
So you can see it's one sheet, lots changed since last Thursday. Few of these projects are on like the 1 yard line. They're basically substantial completion. But anyways, 15 Elm Court, we're down to just the cement apron in front of the building. All the other work has been done. Hasn't been electrified yet. And before I forget, before I get to these elementary school projects, they got two very large Connex boxes over there. I just wanted everybody to be aware that I moved them off the pavement.
What's a Connex box?
It's those 40-foot tractor trailer boxes with no wheels on them sitting on the ground behind the school.
Oh, yeah.
They were on the pavement, so we gained a few parking spaces by moving them off. They didn't quite fit right, so I met with the superintendent and the principal, and they were all for moving one of these boxes up to Elm Court. So again, the Elm Court project, it's turning into, we all know there's a shortage of storage in the town. So the box that has stuff in it that they can drive up and grab, it's long-term cold storage will go up there. The stuff they need immediately to swap out or emergency basis, that box will remain.
Is it school-related items?
Yes,
Like-
yes, it's all school storage.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to forget that piece when I got down to that project. And that apron is supposed to be poured by the end of the week. I haven't heard different from the concrete contractor. Apparatus bay roof, it looks like it's probably going to be a fall project, which is fine. I'll get, as we get into September, I'll have a firmer date on that. School Street Park, that was completed maybe a couple weeks ago now. It came out pretty good. It's been all certified. And it's really cool watching the kids play on it when I come down through town and I'm working on these other projects. So it is being used, a lot of nice compliments.
I'm sure. I've heard a lot on your behalf as well. And I
Yeah.
give you a lot of credit.
Yeah. And then I had a few questions. The basketball court and the pickleball courts need to be relined and probably a little crack sealing on the basketball court too, which I'll try to get to that in the fall, if not in the spring, reline that. So the Hatfield Elementary School boilers, Adams Plumbing was there this afternoon. I happened upon them when I went over to take a look at the pavement. So one boiler is ready to go. The other one is substantially ready to go. But what they're waiting for is a company called CTC that provides the BMS system for the school, the building maintenance system. It's the notification system, like somebody will get an email in the middle of the night, your boilers went down, or you lost gas response. That system has to be wired into both boilers. And I think we'll be close to where we need to be completely done with that project. Elementary, oops,
Sorry, can I just ask? It says this needed to wait because the AC needed to be shut down. Has the AC been shut down? Because I imagine they may still need
yes.
it.
Well, that was the tricky part about this, waiting since May when they were done.
Yeah.
They ran into parts problems with the new boilers, but the intent was to have the AC shut down, fire the boilers, operate them, run them. And we're hoping that the BMS system can be hooked up. I'm expecting an email from Adams Plumbing, I hope tonight or tomorrow morning when that'll happen. So no, we're not going to fire the heat up and run it for 2 days when the kids come back to school or the teachers. We want to get that done
Right.
before then.
Okay.
So when we fire these boilers in October, we know we're off and running.
And
they
then
know-
the AC can get turned back on.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
And they no longer, I heard a rumor they had to like call Ohio or something anytime they wanted to turn the heat on. Like that's no longer ideally this new system.
No, we're going to, I mean, we virtually the last 2 years have run on one boiler at a time. And I think that has a lot to do with the inconsistency throughout the classrooms.
Okay.
We still may have to change some controls or whatever, but I want to see personally, and I've been in touch with the superintendent and
Yeah.
Melissa on this. We want to see how the building is going to react to both boilers feeding the building, because then you may not have cold rooms furthest away or whatever.
Yep.
One boiler was like working triple time to heat that whole building. If they're both fired and set, you can feed the whole building more consistently.
Good.
So if
right.
we have to do some
Fingers
more
crossed.
controls, we'll do some more controls and look at that. But I'm hoping that a lot of those issues will be resolved. The school roof, we had a walkthrough, a final punch list inspection by our engineering firm last Wednesday. I do have to say that I've been on a lot of membrane roofs and I've never seen such a flat roof with no bubbles, no ripples, and the straightest seams I've ever seen. I mean, you could measure them. They're like perfectly off each unit, the length of each roof. They did an excellent job on the roof. They found no issues for the roofing contractor to come back. And I spent 3 hours up there with our engineering and design team, and they didn't come up with a single thing that they need to come back and redo. It's a nice roof. The one thing we do have is we still have a leak, and to be clear, we don't have a leak in the roof. We had 2 leaks. One was a drain in the plumber's portion of doing the roof. It's not the roof leaking, but it was the drain, new drain baskets and drain stuff that was put in. One wasn't sealed properly. The other one, they're claiming that it's the internal pipes that take the water away from the roof drains. So I hired a local plumbing company. They're supposed to drop the lift off tomorrow, and they expect to be there Thursday and Friday to go up there. They got to tear all the insulation off the pipe work. It's like 8-inch pipe up there, cast iron. And more than likely, we're going to find cracked pipes or cracked joints or something up there. So the intent is to get that repaired by the end of the week and re-insulated, and hopefully the misery of the old roof will be behind all of us.
Yep.
I've heard the stories.
I
Yep.
think that pipe's been the issue the whole time.
No.
It's a very good possibility that it was part of the problem, but the roof drains were part of the project to be all changed out. So there's also a possibility they took all the insulation down and there is a roof drain leaking, a new one.
Because I know the company that was hired, the engineers wanted to look and see why the original roof failed. So I don't know if they gave you a report on why that roof did not last its 20 years or so.
I heard a lot of different rumors. I hate to throw rumors out there. I know they had leaks like the first or second winter after the school was built. But there's a long history there. I know there was a lot of patches on that roof when we went up there with the design team.
So if I had that conversation with Andrew, we talked, remember when we did the interview for the groups that came in, the group that was hired was talking about they wanted to tell us the reasons behind that failure. So I don't know.
I think
if
we
they-
have some of that information.
Yeah,
so I can
remember
pass
that
that along, for
conversation?
sure.
Yes. So
Yeah.
Regardless,
just-
exciting news that we may not have a wet cafeteria anymore.
Yes, and the quick update on the gym floor, I feel it is getting better from the initial
Right.
problem we had. We're discussing an agreement or have an agreement put together that we're withholding a retainage from the roofing company who's responsible for the plumbing company. We're hoping once the heat gets fired up, and both boilers are running, that thing may just need its other coat of poly or whatever they put on the floor. I'm finding it's still there, but I'm finding it's a little better under my feet and testing it with my hands. So maybe we'll be okay with that. But
So
we
that's just
retain-
like on your punch list to check back, like.
we're retaining enough money for worst case scenario, and that's stripping the whole floor, repainting all the courts, and then resealing it. So that's what we're retaining, worst case scenario. But I don't feel it's going to come to that at this point.
Cool.
And it is usable. So they've been using it. I don't
Great.
see any safety hazard or anything. They weren't lifted that far, the boards. School paving. This was actually one of my all-time favorite projects now that it's coming to an end for a couple of reasons. Having that email chain and having everybody support right out of the gate when I said, hey, can you handle the rec, how you're going to handle the rec kids, how you're going to handle the summer kids. Kudos to everybody involved, the church, the cemetery had kept in touch with me, and the whole 9 yards. There was really no hiccups except the daggone rain that kept putting a stop to the project. So kudos to everybody involved. It's one of my all-time favorite projects because we were up against some difficulty dealing with the project, so it was really awesome to have the different community entities doing their part to assist us to concentrate on that project, and everybody's been excellent. There's been a lot of nice compliments.
I think a lot of it was on your part of communicating with everybody, and you do it so well, making sure that everybody knows what's going on through every step of the process, and I appreciate you doing that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's important to, with these three projects, we're looking at almost $3.1 million of the taxpayers' money. We want to get it right.
Yeah.
So Friday will be the line painting day, the fire lanes, all the parking spaces. I ordered new signs, or Dwayne ordered new signs for the handicap parking areas because they're so faded you can't read them. We're going to replace them with new. And then the speed bump will also be repainted, even though there's signs over at Smith Academy. So that's going to happen Friday. We still have quite a bit of cleanup with the highway department. We changed some grades, especially at the elementary school, so water goes where it's supposed to go. So we got to dress edges with loam and so on and so forth, and pick up a little debris here and there. But the highway department will be on top of that before school opens, before the teachers come back. Let's see. I think I covered that project. The budget for the school's paving, I had it for about 1.12 million, but I built a 15% contingency into it only because we don't know what our premiums are going to be. We're going to be paying on top of the per ton for blacktop because of fuel costs. I don't have all the bills in yet, but I got all the load slips from all the blacktop. I paid the milling bill today. I'm going to go on a limb and say I think we're going to be within the budget. I think we're going to be fine. We'll just see where the contingency comes in. Vehicles, the hook truck did arrive. All the implements arrived this past Friday. And the good news is the over-the-guardrail mower that we ordered, Dwayne ordered it before I came aboard last year. I think he ordered it late May, is in, and our loader's going down there for complete outfit of it. All part of that project was the glass being replaced with the safety glass, the counterweight, everything went with the project. So we don't have to provide any more money to attach that. So that'll take a few days for Tri-County to do. Now, there's a couple of things on here. I'll get through them quick, but important. Farm Museum sprung like 3 leaks fairly small leaks. One's larger than the other two, but I'm trying to get a roofer on that roof to give us a temporary repair, knowing that we have grant money and we're going to be doing the roof within a year. I'm still trying to get somebody there to take a look at it. I think roofers are really busy right now. The other thing I wanted to bring up is first of all, the staff. The staff has worked extremely hard this summer. It's been kind of hellish, excuse my language, for the temperatures and the humidity out there, and they just been giving it the heave-ho. So I just want to say thank you to all my staff and all the divisions for their effort. In particular, summer help has really knocked that out of the park. We have a couple new summer help this year that are very young. They're great workers. They always want to learn. So I just wanted to give them a shout out. We have a probationary employee that their probation ends on August 17th, John Majewski. I forgot there was only one meeting this month. I would have had that on the agenda. But I don't see any issues whatsoever. He's gone out and got his hoisting license on his own, even though it's not in the job description. He's panned out really well. He's even running a little equipment and learning right now. He's good retention. I recommend to promote to keep him.
Just to be clear, no action needs to be taken by
Yeah,
the
no
board to
action.
do so.
Okay.
So,
Cool.
but I wanted to congratulate him on his hard work and so on and so forth. And just today, a fairly good sinkhole opened up at 152 Main Street, down beyond King on the right-hand side. We don't suspect it's sewer, water, or anything like that. There's a lot of old cross drain pipes that were left in the ground here. We suspect that's what it's going to be, but we are going to have to dig it up, the part of the driveway apron out to almost the center of the road. We put the dig safes in today. We'll probably dig them Monday because it's a 3-day clearance for the dig safes. There's much more, but I think these are the important things, and I think we're good. I'm extremely happy we got these 3 large projects closing.
Yeah,
We're catching
great-
up,
great
we're
work.
catching up with things. So
And like I said, on behalf of many residents, I've heard a lot of excitement, and people are happy to see so much getting done in town. So
Yeah.
thank you to the DPW.
Yeah.
and to you.
just a little look forward. We're probably going to be starting the article that was appropriated through CPC, I believe, for the 2 cemetery projects. Probably going to be a fall project. We'll try and get the roads in. There'll be gravel for the winter. I think they call for oil and stone when we're done, so we might want to let them settle in a little bit before we do the oil and stone next year. So
Sounds good.
Great.
okie dokie.
All right, Andrew, take it away.
Send you around an update. I don't think any of this needs to be urgently talked about tonight. So as long as
good.
there's no questions about any of this.
I do have one question.
Yeah.
What time is the deficit reduction meeting scheduled for Tuesday?
That is
August 15th.
scheduled for, I believe, 6 p.m. It might be 6:30. I do need to get that posted.
You're the
But I think it's
liaison for
6:30.
that.
I am. That's why I'm like,
Oh, yeah,
I didn't know about this.
I thought it was me.
Wait, is it not me?
Luke is deficit reduction.
Sweet. Then I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Have fun.
Yay.
Yep.
Which one am I? What am I? Oh, housing.
You've got housing, which that's actually exciting. As of this meeting tonight, we now have a full housing trust board.
So it's Tuesday
is.
at 6.
Tuesday, 6:30 p.m. Deficit reduction committee.
I have jury duty that day, so I'll be.
shoot.
I have enough fun ahead of me.
Yeah, so we're excited for that. Great.
All right. With that, we have 2 executive sessions, so I will make a motion to go into executive session with special counsel pursuant to General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to potential litigation arising from the Route 5 infrastructure project, and pursuant to General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A7, to comply with or act under the authority of any general or special law or federal grant in aid requirements, specifically the Public Records Law, General Law, Chapter 4, Section 726, discuss privileged communication from special counsel, and also make a motion to go into the executive session pursuant to General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A2, to consider applicants for employment by a preliminary screening committee for the position of fire chief, and we will not be returning. Longstreet, aye.
Second, Jaworski, aye.
Frisbee, aye.
Thank you, John, and that will adjourn our meeting for tonight.